I am 85 years old, and throughout this 85-year journey, I've realized that we start with an empty suitcase and a light heart. But along the way, we pick up heavy stones, grudges, the weight of expectations, and the crushing need to be perfect. By 40, you're limping. By 60, you're crawling. At 85, I see so many buried under this weight, unable to see the horizon. I finally asked, does this stone serve me, or just make me tired? The painful truth is, the more you carry, the less you live. The first heavy stone I dropped was the need to be right. For decades, I was a professional argument winner. I kept a mental file of every time my wife was wrong, every mistake my brother made, and every unfair word from a colleague. I thought being right was power. But standing here at 85, I see it for what it truly was, a very lonely victory. Every time I won, I lost a piece of a connection. I traded intimacy for ego. I fought over politics, chores, and minor slights, things that simply don't matter in the long run. They were just shadows. Now, when someone disagrees, I just smile and say, "You might be right." That simple sentence brings a peace worth more than any hollow victory. Don't waste your life winning battles that won't matter on your deathbed. Choose peace over ego. It's a much lighter way to travel. I am 85 now, and the third stone I dropped was the ghost of the person I thought I should have been. We all have that version of ourselves, the one who earned the millions, stayed in shape, or married the one that got away. I carried that ghost for decades. Every time I looked in the mirror, he was there to point out my flaws. I was competing with a shadow that didn't even exist. Finally, I told that ghost to leave. I realized that my real, messy, and flawed life was the only one that mattered. Stop comparing your reality to an imaginary version of perfection. That ideal you is a thief who steals the joy from the real you. Stop grieving for the person you didn't become, so you can finally meet the person you are. At 85, I've finally stopped living for an audience. In America, we are often raised to live in a fishbowl, constantly worrying about the car in our driveway, the title on our business card, or what people at the club think of us. I spent at least 30 years of my life performing for a crowd that wasn't even watching. I made decisions based on how they looked, stayed in jobs I hated, and attended parties I loathed, all to polish a fake image. But here's the secret you learn when you've lived as long as I have. Nobody is actually thinking about you. They are all far too busy worrying about what you think of them. Dropping the need for approval was like unbuckling a heavy suit of armor I didn't even know I was wearing. Suddenly, I could breathe. If you are still performing, remember this: the theater is empty, and the only critic that matters is your own soul. I used to think holding a grudge was a shield, that staying angry kept me safe. But those walls of resentment didn't protect me. They just trapped me inside. Anger is like a heavy, hot coal. You clutch it, waiting to throw it at someone, but you're the one getting burned. I finally let go of the debts people owed me. I forgave the friend who vanished when I was broke, and the father who couldn't love me. I didn't do it for them. I did it because I refused to let their heavy darkness take up another inch of space in my head. Forgiveness isn't saying their actions were okay. It's simply about reclaiming your own inner peace. Empty your heart of old enemies right now so you finally have room for new friends. Beyond the walls of resentment, I discovered another heavy stone, the heavy need to control everything. I spent my middle years exhausted, trying to act as the director of a world that refused to follow my script. I tried to control my children's futures, my wife's moods, and even the aging process itself. I lived in constant anxiety because I treated life like a machine I could fix. But at 85, the truth is simple. Life is a river, not a machine. You can't control the flow. You can only learn how to swim. I finally let go of the steering wheel. I stopped trying to force the next chapter and started actually reading the page I'm on. When you surrender control, fear loses its grip. You realize that most of your worries never happen anyway. The only thing you truly own is your presence in this moment. Now, near the end of my road, my suitcase is finally light. I have unpacked almost everything. I no longer carry the heavy stones of resentment, the masks of perfection, or the burden of other people's opinions. What remains? Only the essentials: love, gratitude, and a few beautiful memories. Paradoxically, I have never felt more powerful than I do now with an empty bag. If you are listening and feel the crushing weight of your life, start unpacking today. Drop the image. Drop the ghost of who you were supposed to be. You don't need all that stuff to reach the finish line. In fact, the less you have, the more you'll enjoy the walk. Thank you for letting an old man share his lightness with you. If this helped you drop just one stone, please subscribe. God bless you, and please, always travel light. If there is one piece of advice I could send back to my younger self, it's this: start unpacking now. Don't wait until the weight of 85 years forces you to your knees. Every day you should look inside your heart and examine the stones you're carrying. The shame of a failed project, the fear of a neighbor's judgment, or the crushing need to be perfect. Ask yourself the hardest question: does this stone serve me, or is it just making me tired? I've learned that the less you carry, the more you actually live. Your real, messy, flawed life is far more beautiful than any imaginary version of perfection. I want to see you walk a little lighter today. Tell me in the comments, what is the one stone you are dropping right now? Share this with someone struggling under a heavy load. God bless you, and please, travel light. Beyond everything I've shared, there is one final truth: the power of your own presence. For most of my journey, I was a ghost in my own life, either mourning a past I couldn't change or fearing a future I couldn't predict. I was everywhere except where my feet were actually planted. But the sources remind us that life is a river, not a machine. You cannot control the flow. You can only learn to swim. Most of the catastrophes we worry about never happen, and the real challenges are things we never saw coming anyway. I finally let go of the steering wheel and decided to trust the process. The only thing you truly own is your presence in this moment. Stop rehearsing for a future that isn't here yet. Be present. Be now. That is the ultimate lightness of being. As I look back on these 85 years, I realize the journey was never about how much I could carry. but how much I had the courage to let go of. We've dropped the ego of being right, the ghost of perfection, and the armor of seeking approval. We've let the hot coals of anger cool and stopped trying to control the river's flow. My final advice? Don't wait until you're 85 to start unpacking. Real power isn't in a perfect image. It's in a light heart filled with love and gratitude. Your life is happening now, on the page you are currently reading. Stop performing for an empty theater. Empty your bag, trust the process, and finally, truly live. It's time to travel light.